dispute. It's a pretty hard gig being the Chancellor. Nobody would want to sit there. You get a very impressive office. You get armed protection because of the delicate nature of the information you hold. You're ferried around. You never pay for a meal. You're grace and favoured right up to the hilt. It's a good gig, but the work that goes with it, there is no pleasing everybody. I have a sympathy with any Chancellor, all right, on that basic score. What you do hope, however, is that there is a kind of basic template of something, just a very basic idea of where you want to go financially. And when Thatcher came in, of course, back in the day, they absolutely had a roadmap there ready to go. When this lot came in 2024, they had no roadmap, saw roadmap all the way along, and they still don't have a roadmap. I mean, if you listen, and some of it is often called Westminster Village tittle-tattle, but invariably there are kernels of truth in what is said. When a journalist talks about sources telling me, they've invariably, good journalists, come from reliable sources. They really have. You can't always name them, but they have. We're now hearing today, and this was initially courtesy of the Financial Times very late last night, that Chancellor Rachel Reeves has decided against raising income tax at the budget in a couple of weeks' time. So in recent weeks, we know there's been very strong indications from the Chancellor and others when they were pressed on that issue, would you raise taxes? And they've unequivocally gone, no, well, we can't answer that at the moment. We'll see what the budget offers us. And there's been a very reasonable belief that they are going to have to break a manifesto pledge. And of course, that would be disastrous. And much like removing the winter fuel allowance for some pensioners, the kind of thing that would hang around their neck. It would never go away. They breached their manifesto pledge. They've got local elections, and they're not just like a few sort of parish councils next May. We're talking about all of Wales and Scotland, and there's mayoral elections as well. This is a big totemic point in the political calendar, and with that just around the corner, I mean, it is, you know, literally 20-odd weeks away, 20, 30 weeks away. They've got to be careful. They don't want to be seen as the party that broke their manifesto pledge. So we know there is an issue. Now, instead, there's lots that we're hearing on all of this. Instead of raising income tax, the Chancellor could opt to freeze or lower income tax thresholds. Newsflash, everybody, if you lower those thresholds, that is an income tax rise, OK? The idea that just the top number, 40p, 45p, whatever, is the only factor in working out taxation is not true. The thresholds are crucial, and if you suddenly hoover up another 100,000 people into a higher threshold, then you've raised income tax. You literally have raised income tax. We're expecting to hear that the OBR's fiscal forecasts, however, are better than expected as a result of stronger wage growth, therefore higher tax receipts. But there is a real problem, of course, because we're expecting those thresholds to freeze and possibly reduce for, you know, the 40p and the 45p rates would also be an option. And that would drag people into paying higher rates of tax, essentially putting up tax. You can't dress that in any other way. And can we just, you know, we have to not let the Chancellor off the hook on this, who will still be doing the rounds, you know, when the Chancellor the very next day do all the interviews after the budget. They go, well, we promised we wouldn't raise income tax, and we haven't. No, you have, if this is what you do. You literally, demonstrably have, if this is what she does. 0344 499 1000. Can we get straight to the nub of this, though? Let me ask the question. If we don't raise taxes, where does the money come from? We've spoken a lot over the last couple of weeks about big areas, big government departments that are not just skint, they are about to implode. Welfare, of course, the Department of Work and Pensions is on its knees. It is praying for a miracle, and that department is going to become more and more expensive, and we simply can't. It's just not sustainable. All right, that's not an opinion. That is just a fiscal fact. It is not sustainable without raising a lot of money elsewhere. And of course, we've got the NHS, we have education. Defence is always, of course, required to have a certain amount of money go in on an annual basis. So what do? Let's just look at this seriously as grown adults in the room. If we don't raise taxes, where does the money come from? Where would you get the money come from? There it is, tomorrow. Somebody knocks on your door. All right, Bob, you're the Chancellor. Hey, fantastic. Do I get that big office? Yep, you get the big office. Hey, do I get the car? Yeah. Get the car as well. It's a nice car as well this year. Armed protection. Oh, yeah. It's very Tom Cruisey cool. Great. When do I start? You start tomorrow. What have I got to do? Solve the economy, mate. That's what you've got to do. And how are you going to do it? Where are you going to get the money from? How do you raise it? What do you put it onto? Do you cut spending? I think many people are fairly enamoured by the idea that spending is out of control as well. But of course, this is the Labour Party, and any financial or economic decision has to be married up with the politics of the piece. That's how government works. Does it look right? Will the optics be OK? Is this what you would expect from a Labour government or a Tory government? So you've got to get all of these ducks in a row. So you've got to do all of that. Where do you get the money from? 0344 499 1000. Let's get a word from Oscar Reddrop, former number 10 advisor. Afternoon to you, Oscar. Good to have you with us.
Good afternoon, Ian.
And, of course, this was the news that broke just yesterday, really. Yesterday evening, we got word that, and some good work from the FT, who were clearly able to establish that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor had decided that, no, they're not going to put up rates of income. They can't be seen to do that. It would be political suicide. But they've got to do something, of course. The budget's just 12 days away. It's worth having a little listen, Oscar, before we get your view on this once again, to that kind of the utter flip-flopping of government when it comes to these issues. Have a listen to this.
Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT. We are having to look at taxes.
I'm really clear. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
There is a question of trust, isn't it? What is the point of a manifesto if it doesn't last a day beyond you being elected into office?
Will your promise not to raise rates on income tax, VAT or employees' national insurance hold good for the whole of this Parliament?
Yes, absolutely. It's an absolute commitment. We've now wiped the slate clean. It's now on us. It's now on us. It would, of course, be possible to stick with the manifesto commitments, but that would require things like deep cuts in capital spending.
That means taxes are going up again, doesn't it?
Well, I'll deliver the budget in a couple of weeks' time. I have been really clear that we are looking at both taxes and spending as part of this budget.
You've made clear that that manifesto promise is going to be broken.
It's now on us. It's now on us. It's now on us.
God. Oscar, you can come out now. We've played it. Rachel's gone. You can rejoin us. There it is. What's that for? We've wiped the slate clean. What the hell does that mean?
It's if it wasn't so painful to watch and so kind of cringeworthy, you can get distracted by that in a way. But this is deeply serious. The reality is the Chancellor of UK PLC is not in control, and that's what that clip shows. The toing and froing. It's not toing and froing on. There are some areas of policy where politicians, you'll see them come out and they'll say one thing and they'll do another, and we all get a bit peeved off about it. But the real impact can be minimal. Ultimately, and there's a bit of political point scoring at play. This is not that. This is deeply serious. The U-turning started from a place of, I'd say, every 4 months or so you'd hear, what's the strategy here? It was this a few months ago. The U-turning as we get close to the budget is happening almost on a daily basis at this moment in time. So for people listening here, this is the reality. There are a team of people, probably, in fairness, a majority of them around my age, so kind of, late 20s, early 30s, and they're sat in number 11 and number 10, and they are throwing stuff at a wall, and they are throwing ideas and, inverted commas, solutions at a wall that will deeply impact the bottom line of everybody's households and pockets in a couple of weeks' time. And that, to me, is utterly unacceptable and terrifying.
And it isn't just the sheer terror, ineptitude, or whatever, however we want to describe it. But of course, it's the lies that are involved in this. And I know all parties have, had a crack at this one. But if you monkey around with thresholds, as I was saying in the intro, so you don't raise the taxes, you just bring a load more people into a high rate of tax. You have raised taxes, right? I mean, you can't swerve that.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's a sleight of hand trick. But this is the thing here. Like, Rachel Reeves isn't some, Machiavellian, cruel person, I don't think. I think she's a decent person, but she's out of control. They don't know what they're doing. And so that's why we're seeing these, just a complete mess of ideas that don't form a wider piece. It all harks back to that utterly ridiculous pledge that the Labour Party meant that they were never going to raise taxes. We all knew it in our heart of hearts that they would. Some people, people who come into contact with politics, probably more around the time of election, probably took their word on it. Yeah. But it was a stupid thing. It was a stupid thing to have put in their manifesto. And there is a lie at play there, because they would have known that they were never, ever going to hold that. And you're right, in terms of lowering a threshold, that is a tax rise. So, and I'm sure no one will at this point, but do not be fooled by that. The other thing I would say is that the political heart of it, which again is, ultimately terrifying, I think, in its level of, in terms of the priority. This is a party that always said we country first, party second. Yeah. What's going on here, when you really cut it down, is the Labour government are unable to both appease the markets and their backbench MPs. And so depending on which direction that wind is particularly blowing, if it's the MPs who've got the momentum for in the eyes of number 10, 11, then one set of policies are announced. And then when the markets go, we don't like the look of this, then they revert back. Yeah. And it is chaos. But I think if any more of this, because we're still, and it is daily at the moment, we're still 2 weeks or so away, any more toing and froing and new ideas being leaked and briefed, I think the markets will be done with them. Yeah, because the uncertainty that is increasing is becoming not sustainable.
We're all reminded, of course, of that pre-election debate between Starmer and Sunak, when Rishi said he just about got it in before he was, I think, cut short by Julia Etchingham or something, when he said, they will raise taxes. They are going to raise taxes. Your taxes will go up. And he was quite clear about that. And some people might cynically say, well, he only knew that because he would have to put up taxes as well. Either way, he wasn't the one that was promising no rises in taxes, and they were. And this is, of course, where we've ended up. And the other problem with this, Oscar, of course, is, again, ideologically, Labour just don't want to visit the idea of cutting spending. So it becomes this, almost double-barreled layer of doom that is going on there. They can't raise taxes and they can't cut spending. This is stupid.
Yeah, she's wedged in two sets of rapids. She's wedged within the rapids of not being able to both please her backbench MPs and the markets. And also she's wedged in between these rapids of having no idea how to engender growth, no bottle, as we know from from the welfare stuff a few months back, no bottle or metal to actually slash government spending in a whole host of areas, including welfare, and hiking our taxes as a result of not having the bottle to do that. So that is why you were seeing, that kind of she's got one paddle, and she is going round and round and round in circles. And as the weeks approach, those rapids are getting ever, ever closer. And I honestly, just lastly on this, we saw the Liz Truss budget, that absolute, the chaos that ensued. And that was a grenade. That was I would say that's the equivalent of they didn't realise the pin was off the grenade, and it blew up almost instantaneously. Yeah. This is different, but has the potential to be just as damaging. Yeah. But it's more that, over weeks and months and, years now, the Labour government, number 10, number 11, have been slowly, loading up their pockets with this dynamite. And, any more uncertainty, any more messing around, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, spot on. And we're also hearing as well, Henley & Partners predicting 16,500 millionaires will leave the UK in 2025. The UAE gaining 9,800 of our homegrown entrepreneurs and the like. Switzerland, 3,000. This is not... on the left, they probably go, yeah, good riddance to you. Go on, clear off. No, please. No, that's not how you look at this. These are the people that make money, that employ people, that create business and industry and innovate and the like. But, don't let inconvenience inconvenient facts stand in the way of bizarre, warped left-wing thinking. Oliver will be back with you for more in Oscar. Why did I say Oliver? Oscar Reddrop is back with us in a couple of moments. Former number 10 advisor to Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister. We look forward